Even if you have become a K-pop fan recently, you probably heard of the debate that started after SSERAFIM's infamous encore stage. On February 19th, the group had their comeback with the song Easy, which received mixed reactions from the public. 10 days after they had their comeback, though, they won first place on Mnet's M Countdown, and as is customary, they had an encore stage after the win. However, the performance didn't go as well as one would have thought, with netizens thinking that the members' vocals were below average despite the song being relatively easy to sing. The comments were harsh, criticizing the group's pitch and pronunciation. Some even went as far as to call Sakura tone-deaf, saying that she should have been able to be a decent singer, especially since she has been an idol for over a decade. Whether the criticism was deserved or not, that's for you to decide, but the performance started a much-needed discussion. Are vocals not as important in K-pop anymore? K-pop has never really been a vocal-heavy industry, as it has always focused on other things more: concepts, images, visuals, and variety talent. Idols also have to be a whole package because they have to be decent at singing, dancing, sometimes rapping, and have to be attractive and fun enough to appeal to the public and build a fan base. In general, though, looks and aesthetics are what really draw K-pop fans in, and companies know that's where the money comes from. Once fans are really into a group, they don't really care if their idol sings live or not, they will just believe they are, or they will make excuses for why they're not. Not to mention that after all, this is just pop music. Even in the Western pop industry, you can find artists who have a lot of fans and hits, but who aren't good singers because you don't necessarily have to have amazing vocal skills to make it big. All in all, in an industry like this, good management and production are what really matter. However, we can all argue that the first and the second generations had a lot more powerful singers than the newer ones. Back then, it was obvious that companies put a lot more importance on training idols to at least be decent performers. This showed best in the way that every group had at least one or two members who were really strong vocally, who defined the group's unique vocal style and could easily handle a wide range of songs. They also had more classical training, which allowed them to belt notes while doing choreographies. Even the members who weren't strong vocalists were exceptional at either dancing or variety, but that didn't mean that they couldn't hold a note. Even the ones who held non-vocalist positions were also decent singers to some degree, and most importantly, they could do amazing live performances. The background vocal tracks weren't loud, so you could hear the idols' breaths and their clear singing voices. This is also one of the reasons that most older generation groups didn't have the luxury of not having well-trained vocalists, because they couldn't exactly hide that they were lacking in vocals. That's not to say that older generations didn't have bad vocalists, though. As we mentioned, the K-pop industry relies heavily on looks, aesthetics, and concepts, so nobody bats an eye if there are pretty people who can't sing. However, the bar used to be much higher back then when it came to vocals, which is what used to make the performances so good. After all, the fans were standing singers, so it mattered that they sang live. Most fans weren't really bothered if the vocals weren't the best, because they at least knew that the skills that the idols were showing weren't altered or hidden through loud backtracks and lip syncing. They had multiple chances to show these skills as well. They used to have various weekly music shows, perform live for product endorsements, and of course have live concerts and tours. You could say whatever you want about those performances, but they become a lot more enjoyable. Let's be clear once again, we're not saying that first and second generation idols performed live all the time. Every idol and group has lip synced at some point, especially on music shows, and that's okay. After all, they have to do these performances almost every day, which could cause their voice to be strained and the idols to get tired, so it's better to lip sync. On those shows, their main goal is to promote their songs and how they perform them, and if you're looking for something more focused on singing, there are plenty of other broadcasts to check out. But overall, it's pretty clear that lip syncing has become a much bigger issue lately, and good vocals aren't as valued in the industry as they once were. Generally, it seems like companies have changed their strategy when it comes to scouting and promoting idols. It doesn't matter if they can't hold a note while sitting down or are only mediocre in all parts of the job. As long as they're pretty and can attract a ton of loyal fans, entertainment companies are going to make them idols. However, we can all argue that this has become even worse in the fourth generation. It was during this period that the industry became more interested in making idols into influencers and models rather than good performers and singers. This shows best in the way that entertainment companies start bagging brand ambassadorships for their idols before they even have the chance to hit the stage yet, and sending them to fashion shows rather than having them take vocal lessons and sing live to practice their skills. Actually, companies are doing anything but having idols take singing lessons. They take lessons on how to take selfies and make TikToks and classes on how to pose, but it seems like nobody pays attention to vocals anymore. This is quite different from the idols of third and second generation, as Chen, Baekhyun, Chanyeol, and Suho from EXO have mentioned that they still take singing lessons privately. They're all amazing vocalists and have been in the industry ever since these newer idols were babies, yet they have never stopped practicing. They know that it's crucial for them to keep practicing singing since vocal cords need regular exercise and care, like muscles, but newer idols seem to have forgotten that and completely neglect attending their singing lessons. Companies are also to blame for many issues, including not fully understanding their artists' singing skills. If they manage idols who can sing better than most, they might give them songs that don't really let their skills shine. Let's take Baby Monster, for example. YG Entertainment groups in general aren't known to be vocally heavy, so when Baby Monster came around, people thought that they would follow in the steps of their seniors. It didn't help that neither Batter Up nor Sheesh were songs that really highlighted their vocal talents, so expectations were low for them. Imagine everyone's surprise when they appeared on the variety show Knowing Bros and heard Ayan singing Charlie Puth's hit song Dangerously while Rami performed Akmu's Dinosaur. These videos went viral and had people wondering why YG wasn't letting the members show off their singing skills more in their songs. They have some B-sides that do this, but they didn't get as much attention as Sheesh and Batter Up. Another example of this is SM Entertainment's treatment of aespa. As we all know, the members of aespa are either good or great vocalists, with all of them exhibiting above-average skills. They have shown time after time that they can very well hold a live performance, yet they rarely do so. They have to lip-sync even at their concert, which greatly diminishes their status as artists. The fans were really let down after spending a lot of money to see their favorite group lip-syncing to songs they could easily sing live, as without the live singing, it felt more like watching a dance performance or a fashion show. The opposite also tends to happen a lot. Sometimes companies tend to overestimate the skills of their idols and give them songs that are way out of their range, which makes them the target of backlash. In many live performances, especially during encores, idols often strain or hit off key notes. This usually happens because the songs they're given exceed their current vocal abilities. Singers, no matter how experienced, risk damaging their voices when they attempt to sing beyond their limits. Sure, some of them may sound decent in any song they're given, but pushing themselves too hard could harm their voices in the long run. Besides not giving much importance to proper vocal training, the industry also relies heavily on technology to cover up their idols' flaws. Nowadays, all idols do is lip sync or sing along with a loud backtrack, to the extent that you can't even hear their actual voices. As we mentioned, this isn't a bad idea sometimes, especially since it's hard to sing and dance at the same time. Considering how much harder and more intense choreographies have gotten over the years, it's difficult to be stable during it all. However, a lot of these idols have been in the industry for several years without doing any live performances, which will harm them in the long run. Singing live in smaller performances is how they can get better and be ready for bigger shows. If they abruptly transition from lip syncing to singing, their skill level struggles will become obvious. You can see this in SSERAFIM's encore stages and most recently their Coachella performance. While the girls are far from being untalented, they sounded strained and off-key during their stage, which is a result of not singing live for most of their careers. They haven't gained the confidence to sing without a backtrack or gotten the chance to see their mistakes and correct them. It's a shame because this was such a big chance for them to grow their audience and show everyone what they have been training for, but instead, they were nervous to perform. With how the industry is moving, we're more likely not going to see any good singers in the near future. K-pop fans have really lowered their standards when it comes to idols' skills, which is why companies don't even bother trying anymore. Groups with easy listening songs and good aesthetics are the ones gaining popularity, while the vocally talented ones are usually left in the shadows. We can hope for this to change, but looking at how things are going so far, that's unlikely to happen.